Maria Bartholdi, joined by Gold Pro Steve Hatto of Luxembourg for our first deck tech of the day. Steve, I'm super excited about your deck. It is Esper Benalia. So tell me a little bit about the genesis of this deck. It's kind of like two decks came together and made this one.
Hello, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you very much. Basically, I started out on the white-black vehicles that most people should know by now. It's actually old news already. And on the other hand, I was very fascinated by the white-blue flash decks that were running around, because the best you can do is playing on your opponent's turn. I mean, your turn is just there to draw your card and then pass. However, I noticed that a lot of the cards that I initially liked in the vehicle stack, like the Toolcraft exemplar, were pretty bad positioned compared to the Goblin that is, well, pinging them to death. And I did also not like the Scrap Heap Scrounger, because he was very bad at blocking, and if you had a Heart of Kiran with it, you actually wanted to attack. So I cut all those cards, but during testing I was very impressed with the Black Knight and the White Knight, even though that's not their names, I will refer to them as that way. And I figured out, well, if I can put both together and History of Benalia, I actually have a reasonable step one game plan of playing hard to block, well playing on defense, and overrun the opponent in the early game. And if that doesn't work, I said, well, what can I do next? And that's what we're going to see here, I hope.
All right, let's take a look at your first set of cards here. History of Benalia 4, Knight of Grace a 4 of, and Knight of Malice a 4 of, just as you described it.
Exactly. They are both pretty hard to interact with all kinds of removal that isn't red. Like, if your opponent has push and you have this one, he's very sad, and if he has the white removal suit, doesn't really work out for them. Also, they push each other for being stronger, and History of Benalia just enables like insane attack stabs with 5 power first strikers, which even the green decks can have trouble blocking.
All right, let's take a look at what we have coming up next. Gideon, 3 of here, a Heart of Kiran, and Karn, Scion of Urza. So obviously Karn, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him this week, and how good is he in this deck?
Karn is great in this deck as a value permanent. His 2 most important things is drawing cards and crewing hard. Gideon is actually the revelation that card became much, much better due to the recent rules change, because your opponent has to target him direct with damage or attack him. So he cannot, for example, unlicense disintegration on your blocker, redirect the 3 damage to Gideon and then kill him with a 1/1. That does not work that way. So Gideon is way more resilient, and the perfect follow-up to Knights that allow you to keep attacking even though your opponent had a creature or 2 creatures that he could double block with to kill a Knight. So blocking is really hard, and it allows you to switch gears from being slightly more defensive with the Gideon to just making him a 4/4, crew the heart, and join the attack together with your Knights.
All right, so we've got some blue coming up here. Hostage Taker, a single copy Scarab God. We haven't been hearing quite a lot about Scarab God as we used to, and a 2 of Walking Ballista. So why is Scarab God back in this deck?
Well, if your plan A, like rushing your opponent to death, fails, you need something else to do. Usually, when you have a more aggressive or mid-range aggressive strategy, that means playing 5 drops. Obviously, we don't have access to cool dragons like the red players have, but the Scarab God has been a scary card for a long time for a good reason. Because you can either bring your Knights back, which will be horrible for your opponent to deal with as huge first strikers, or whatever good creatures died. I mean, I don't have to explain the card Scarab God. It's a one-man army, kind of. One god army, I guess.
One bug army? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Walking Ballista also slightly less good because people avoid playing small creatures due to the chainmailers, but still a great card, and obviously also something that you keep in mind is very good to bring back with. The Hostage Taker there started out as a replacement for the Chupacabras that we could not reliably cast in this deck due to having 2 black mana symbols. We'll see that in a moment with the mana base. However, it turns out that Hostage Taker is actually better for this deck than Chupacabra, because it also allows you to interact better with artifact permanents. I have still my fair share of Heart of Kirans, for example, in case I didn't have one yet.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look at what removal you're packing here in this deck. We have 4 copies of Cast Out, 2 Cast Down, and 4 Fatal Push.
Exactly. The removal suit of my dreams would be Vraska's Contempt here, but the mana isn't there to do that, so Cast Out is the next best thing, or even better, depending on the situation. While it is vulnerable to cards that are a lot played, like Brontodon, it has the advantage that it allows you to interact with opposing cast downs, with artifacts and enchantments, which the Vraska's Contempt does not. And of course, you can always cycle it, and cycle is one of the best abilities that can be printed on a card. After the cast out, we have the cast down, which is it's the removal we need, but not the removal we want, because the non-legendary clause is actually relevant. You cannot kill Heart of Kirans, Galtars, and a lot of other, like the gods, you cannot kill them. You need it, but the non-legendary clause prevents you from playing too many. And Fatal Push, we see it in Standard, we see it in Modern.
We just need it.
If you're black, take it with you.
All right, let's take a look at your mana base pretty quickly. So it's kind of complicated. Here's the first set of lands. Let's move ahead and look at the second set of lands as well. Overall, how did you construct this?
So basically, you need white early on because you have double white 3-drops. You always want the black mana on the first turns because of Fatal Push and Cast Down, but you only need the blue mana very late. So it is very convenient that your blue sources also have mostly cycling. So once you have them and you have access lands, you can cycle them, even though there is a certain amount of lands that you might want to have in play to use the Scarab God to its fullest. So there's actually plenty of decisions to make while playing your lands, and which is also appealing with the deck. The basic strategy is quite simple. You play knights, you make them big, and usually that's enough. But you also have some amount of decisions to take. You have plenty of cards with cycling in the deck, so even if things do not go as planned, you can try to figure out an alternative plan.
Well, the deck seems super sweet. Steve Hatto, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We've got more Magic coming up after this.